What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Fight Day MMA Show. I am your host, Kalen Nero, with my man Kanan Saunier here. And today we're going to be bringing y'all a pre-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 176, Lewis versus Oleynik. So, guys, I got some good fights on this main card. A lot of ranked opponents, actually, surprisingly, for a free card on ESPN Plus. So, which is not very often. Normally you see a couple ranked people in the co-main and the main event, but not throughout the entire main card. And with this one, we're getting a pretty good card. I think Dana White and them are really starting to get a return on their investment through sticking through this whole COVID-19 thing. So they're really bringing us some good fights. So yeah, guys. For the first fight on the main card, we go to the lightweight division where we have Beneil Dariush versus Scott Holtzman. And I'm going to pass it to my main man, Kanan Saunier, here to break this one down for us, guys.
So Darius comes in 18-4-1, 12 finishes, 12-4-1 UFC. He does have a split decision win over Michael Johnson, which is huge for him. Scott Holtzman comes in 14-3, 7 finishes, 7-3 in UFC. Darius is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, so he's comfortable wherever the fight goes, and he has a gas tank. Azu can go and go and go and go.
He showed that in his last fight.
Yeah. Sometimes he leaves himself open, though, for the big shots. And it's 3 of his 4 total losses he's been KO'd in 3 of those fights. So, I mean, sometimes his over aggressiveness is his biggest downfall in this fight, and that's something to definitely look out for. Scott Holtzman is a brown belt BJJ, but he also mixes in his kicks well, and he's a very athletic fighter. He picks his moment, and he doesn't get hit a lot. So he's as of now, he sticks his punches, and he picks his moments, and he capitalizes on those opportunities. He doesn't get hit that much. But in this fight, I think it's going to be different. I think Darius has fought a lot of high-level guys. He's fought Barboza. He beat Michael Johnson. He's fought guys that have been in the top of that weight class. And I think that he's going to be too much for Scott. Scott's never been finished in his career. But I think that Darius is going to be too much for him. And I think that I think it could either be a third-round finish or a decision. This might be the first finishes of his career, or it's going to be a decision. But I got Darius in this fight.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Beneil in his last fight that I watched, he was overwhelming, man. He keeps a tremendous pace. He's an extremely well-rounded fighter. This guy can do it anywhere, on the ground, standing up. And in his last fight, I can't remember, was it Michael Johnson in his last fight?
No, it was Michael Johnson was like back in 2017, I want to say.
I'm trying to remember who he fought in his last fight, but he just overwhelmed the kid. And whenever we're talking about this pressure and stuff, Scott Holtzman is a very athletic fighter, but Scott is kind of hesitant, and Beneil is the opposite of that. Beneil is going to be in his face the entire time, and Scott's not much of a counterpuncher at all. So I think that's where we're going to see Beneil get a lot of success, where Beneil is going to be pushing forward, and he is going to be a lot for Scott Holtzman to handle. I agree with you 100% where I think this might be the first time that Scott Holtzman does get finished in his career. Beneil is just skilled everywhere, and I think Scott Holtzman's gas tank isn't as great as it needs to be in order to fight a guy like Beneil. And I think Beneil is going to literally put the pressure on him for 3 whole rounds, make him extremely uncomfortable, and he's either going to make him quit in the 3rd round by getting him down to the ground and tapping him, or he'll just beat him up. Like I'm not even going to predict the decision in this one. I think I'm just going to take a 3rd round finish for this one.
Yep. Totally agree. And it was Drakkar Klose. Did I say his last name?
Yeah, Drakkar Klose. Yeah, he was like undefeated or something like that, or he only had like 1 or 2 losses. And this kid was like very highly prospected, and Beneil humbled him big time. Big time.
Knocked him out.
Yeah, he humbled him big time. So for the next fight, we have a women's bantamweight fight between Yana Kunitskaya versus Julie. I'm going to just say Julia. I'm assuming the second J in her name is silent. Julia Stolyarenko. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. If not, listen to John Anik say it on Saturday, and he'll get it right.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Maybe. We'll see.
They do still pronounce Daniel's last name as Cormier, which I just be like,
yeah, but I think Daniels kind of gave up on that, to be honest with you. So yeah, we got Yana Kunitskaya, who's 12-5 with 8 finishes. She's 2-2 in the UFC against Julia, who is 9-3-2, who has 8 submissions on her career. She lost her UFC debut in 2018 and hasn't fought in the promotion since, but she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. So I'm believing she lost her UFC debut, left, got 5 more fights, and then made her way back. In those last 5 fights, she's had 4 submissions. So Yana's a stand-up fighter, right? Taekwondo, boxer background, and she has a lot of knockout power. Actually, she's knocked out. I think all 8 of her finishes are by knockout. I don't think she's really got a submission in her career. And the 2 losses she has in the UFC are to actually amazing fighters. You know, you got to think about it. Chris Cyborg, only woman in the world that can beat Chris Cyborg is Amanda Nunes.
Chris Cyborg knocks out everybody.
Right. And Aspen Ladd was dominating. She was undefeated, and her only loss is Jermaine Durandamine. And a lot of people thought it was controversial because she got hit after the bell. You know, which Jermaine Durandamine has a tendency to do. So yeah, when I look at Yana, I don't look at her 2 UFC losses too much, you know, because I'm thinking the 2 losses are to 2 really high level fighters. However, if this Julia girl gets you to the ground, I think it's going to be a problem because Yana is not experienced on the ground at all. I mean, like 8 out of 9 wins by submission is insane. I mean, you don't really see that anywhere, and maybe early like Royce Gracie maybe like that's when you think like early fighters that were only jiu-jitsu guys. That's what you think of. I think Julia will be okay on the feet. If it stays on the feet, Yana wins for sure. If it goes to the ground, I think Julia will have the advantage. But I think Yana is actually the bigger girl out of these 2. Yana's a pretty big bantamweight. So, for my money, I'm going to pick Yana Kunitskaya to win this fight. I think she's going to be too much on the feet. I think she actually finishes Julia probably in the second round by TKO. I think she'll kind of just overwhelm her in the first round. And then Julia's going to come in and kind of start shooting some desperation shots in the second round. I think Yana just put her away.
All right, so this fight to me, this is the biggest problem. This is the biggest fight problem that I've had in deciding a winner. And Yana comes in, she's a boxer, she's a Taekwondo practitioner, and Julia comes in, she's a BJJ girl. But she also has an aggressive stand-up, and she's going to force the fight onward. She's going to keep pushing forward. She throws good combos, she throws some good kicks, she likes to clinch, she throws solid knees in the clinch. She's always busy and always moving forward. And with that, I know Yana has the knockout power. And looking at it, this is kind of like, to me, like the same fight I lost in the last one. Because Julia has 0 takedowns in the UFC. In her fight that she lost, she has 0 takedowns. Her accuracy is 0%. Just like Maya had. And in this fight, I'm kind of iffy. I don't know who I want to pick. But this every other fight we have about the same.
Yeah.
So in this fight, I'm going to pick the difference. I'm going to pick Julia in this fight, and I do believe this fight will
We coming back, boys. We coming back.
And I do believe this fight will get her down. And she's just an aggressive fighter, man. She's going to push the fight forward. She might crowd Yana. It might get her against the fence, take her down. And this fight gets her to the ground, she definitely wins, first off. And in those
I agree with that.
In her last 5 fights, I want to say she won an Invicta title. So, I mean, she hasn't been fighting a bunch of nobodies. I mean, Invicta's
like
one
I
of the
said
biggest
last
women's
week,
promotions.
Invicta's good for women.
And, I mean, if she gets the ground, she's submitting somebody.
Yana was also a previous Invicta champion. So,
man,
at least I believe so. I'm almost positive.
I'm gonna go with Julia here just because I want there to be a clear winner, and I don't want there to be like, yeah, we're just picking after each other.
Yeah.
But I think Julia has what it takes. I think both fighters have what it takes to win this fight. If it stays on the feet, Yana has an upper hand. If it goes to the ground, Julia has upper hand.
Right.
But I'm going to go with Julia because I feel like she's the more well-rounded fighter in this fight.
All right. So, next, guys, we go to the third fight on the main card, and it is between Maki Pitolo versus Darren Stewart in the middleweight division. So, Maki Pitolo comes in 13-5, 10 finishes, 1-1 in the UFC, and he's a former Contenders prospect. So, that automatically rings a bell for me. Oh, Dana White Contender Series. Got to look out for this guy. We have him going against Darren Stewart, who's 11-5, 7 finishes, 4-5 in the UFC. And he's coming off of a loss, believe it or not, into the UFC. Yeah, no, he lost in the Cage Warriors, and now he's coming into the UFC off of a loss, which is weird because they have thousands of fighters who want to get into the UFC who are coming off of wins in their promotions, and this guy gets the call. But anyway, Stewart's a very aggressive fighter. He's very entertaining, so I get why he might have gotten the call. But he's kind of wild, and he leaves himself open for big shots sometimes. And I think Patolo, coming from the boxing background, is going to be very technical, and he's going to really pick him apart. He's going to kind of do a lot of bombing and weaving and just piece him up, honestly. I think Patolo wins this fight probably second round, first round maybe. I think Patolo is going to really go in there and masterclass him on the feet, believe it or not. And, I got Patolo winning this for sure.
I definitely agree with you here. Stewart is definitely an aggressive fighter, and he's going to come swinging. He's trying to knock you out. He's trying to take your head off. And with that, his UFC record's 4-5. He's coming off a loss in the Cage Warriors. Patolo's fought in Bellator. He's 1-0 in Bellator. He's 1-0 in the UFC. I just think that Patolo is just a more technical fighter here. Like you said, he's a boxer. He throws his punches with precision. He's accurate. He's calculated. He's going to throw combo after combo, and that's not what Stewart does. Stewart doesn't throw combos. He's literally just throwing hands until he knocks you out or until he finishes you, and at least in his head. And in Stewart is by far the more experienced fighter, but in his last fight, he struggled. They said he looked gassed. And this is like not way below. This is a step below the UFC. This is Cage Warriors. I've never even heard of Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors is actually a very big European promotion. Conor McGregor was double champ in Cage Warriors. Dan Hardy was a champion in Cage Warriors. Darren Till was a champion in Cage Warriors. Old boy who beat Aaron Phillips. Jack Shore was a champion in Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors produces a lot of really good talent. That's probably the best feeder in Europe for the UFC. So when you see that, you can't. It's obviously not a UFC loss. A UFC loss, you can kind of, it was in the UFC, But it's not like it was in the Bayou Fighting Championship or something like that, It was in a legit promotion.
Man, but I just feel like you're coming off a loss in a lesser promotion. You were 4-5 in the UFC. And in this fight against a guy in a lesser promotion, you look just sloppy. They said you look gassed. They said you look terrible, and you're supposed to be the more experienced fighter here. You have 9 fights in the UFC. I think that Patolo's going to come in with something to prove. I mean, he's 1-1 in the UFC. He lost his debut.
And that chip on his shoulder.
He lost his debut, and he's just going to pick him apart on the feet. This fight's going to stay on the feet for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Patolo's going to destroy him. Right. Not destroy, but he's going to pick him apart.
Yep, I agree. Alrighty, so now we are coming into our co-main event of the evening, guys. We got Omari Akhmedov versus Chris Weidman. Akhmedov is 20-4-1. He has 12 finishes on his career. He's 8-3-1 in the UFC. I've actually never heard of this guy until this fight card, believe it or not. He's number 11 in the middleweight division. I never heard of him. He hasn't lost in his last 6 fights, so he's on a roll. Chris Weidman's 14-5. He has 10 finishes on his career. He's 10-5 in the UFC, and he's lost 5 of his last 6. It's kind of crazy to think the fall from grace Weidman's had, starting off his career like 11-0, winning the championship, defending it a few times, and then just falling out. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Kanan to break this fight down for you guys.
Man, like you said, Chris Weidman's fall from grace, man. He beat Silva that fight, which obviously that first fight, Silva was cocky and got clipped, bro. And then the second fight, Silva, to me, looked like he was winning that fight until he broke his leg. Broke his ankle.
He checked the crap out of that leg kick, dude.
Bro, when I tell you, I got woozy after watching that fight. I saw Silva's leg go around Weidman's and kick himself in the leg, and I was like, and then they just kept putting it on replay, and I was like, oh god, I can't see this anymore. Weidman is actually the favorite in this fight, and that's just really surprising. Well, that's really what it is because of his name. He's lost 5 of his last 6 fights. All 5 of those losses have been by knockout, and it's looking to me like a Luke Rockhold situation. Your chin is gone. He just moved recently. Last fight, moved up to light heavyweight because he was getting busted in middleweight. and he got knocked out again. And I mean, I just after seeing that, it really looks like your chin is non-existent. Looks like you got a glass chin watching that. Omari comes in. He has a Sambo background. He's a Dagestan person. He's a Dagestan guy. He's one of the boys from Dagestan. And you know something about those guys? They can wrestle.
They're made from mountains.
Bro, Omari is a very well-rounded fighter. If the fight stays on the feet, he can throw hands. I think it's very impressive. He's one of those guys who can do it all from there. Weidman's also a great wrestler, and he averages almost 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. But he's been outstruck majority of his career. And I think if this fight stays on his feet, I think Omari's actually one of the feet, and I think Omari has a good enough Sambo wrestling ground game that I think he'll nullify anything Weidman has on the ground. I think if Weidman tries to take him down, he'll either get stuffed or he's going to get beat on the ground. I think Omari's striking gives him the edge in this fight, and I think Weidman's chin is just on a decline. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out again. Right. So I got Omari Akhmedov with a 3rd round finish.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you a little bit there on I think Omari's going to definitely have the advantage on the feet. However, I do think Omari will have really good ground game. Like you said, he's a Sambo guy. So I do think he'll be able to kind of keep up with Weidman. But my question is what do we know about Sambo guys on their back? We don't know anything because we've never really seen a Sambo guy get put on their back. Chris Weidman's got the wrestling to put a guy like that on his back. Now, will he be able to get him down? Who knows? I don't think so. I think this fight's going to actually stay standing for the majority of it. Because a lot of the times whenever you see two guys who are really good grapplers come in and fight each other, they just decide to stand and bang. Weidman's boxing is a little bit underrated. I know he's been outstruck most of his career, but if you think about who the guys he's been fighting, it's kind of hard not to get outstruck by those guys. You know? Luke Rockhold, Joe Romero's, Robert Whitaker's, Jacare Souza. You got to think about those guys. Those guys aren't people who are slouches at all. However, I agree with you. I think his chin is on the decline big time. Like you said, being finished out of his last 5 out of his last 6 fights, all by knockout. That's not a good look. I think Omari has heavy hands, believe it or not. As do almost all Sambo guys for the most part, except Habib for some reason.
Hey, he rocked Conor. I'll give him his heavy hands.
Yeah, but I mean that was one time. But he's not super heavy-handed. But I feel Omari has pretty heavy hands, and I think Omari is actually going to be able to kind of rock Weidman with the shot, like late first, maybe early second, and get him down on the ground and just ground and pound him out and put him out. I think the finish will be a little bit earlier.
I know about Sambo guys on his back, but Omari does have 5 submission finishes. Of his 12, the 5 are by submission.
Right.
He's not a slouch in his jiu-jitsu game, and I think he's gonna outclass Weidman in this fight. I think it's about time for Weidman to hang it up. He's 36. I don't want to see him go in the path of BJ Penn.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to see that BJ Penn path. That's one of the sad things, man. You have these guys who come in and become legends and are 14, don't know when to 15 and 0, or like in Weidman's case, he was like 14 and 0 or something like that, or 11 and 0, and then just start losing.
He go twice.
BJ Penn was like 12 and 2 or something like that in his career, and then just lost 12 straight or something like that. He has like a losing record. So these younger guys who are just getting into the sport now are gonna look at that and be like, "Oh man, this guy's trash. This dude's 12 and 14." And if you didn't know his record now, and you look back at this guy back in 2008, this guy won the belt from Matt Hughes at 170 pounds while he was 155, or right after he won the 155-pound belt. You know, so you gotta think about stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here. I think I'm gonna take Omari as well. I think he's gonna get an early finish against Weidman. Believe it or not, I think Weidman's just not there anymore, man. And I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really like Weidman. I think Weidman's a good guy. I really hope Weidman can get the win, but I just don't think it happens. Alrighty, guys. So now on to our main event. We got our H-Town boy, Derek Lewis versus Alexei Oleynik, the boa constrictor, the Ezekiel choke master, man. So Derek Lewis is 23 and 7, 14 and 5 in the UFC. Got a bunch of KOs. Alexei Oleynik is 59, 13 and 1. So let's see, that's 73 fights in his pro career. Am I counting that right?
And let him know how many submissions this man got on his record, bro.
46 submissions on his record, guys. 46, not like 46 submissions on his record. So Alexei Oleynik is a really, really, really good ground guy. Amazing. He'll tap just about anybody in the world. He actually has gotten a lot better in his stand-up a little bit, but he's kind of looked a little off as of late, as the age is probably wearing on him. If you think about it, 73 professional fights, not including the 20 maybe amateur fights he had and any background he had before that. There's a lot of wear and tear on your body, a lot of miles. But he's known to get knocked out by power strikers and explosive people such as Walt Harris, Alistair Overeem, Curtis Blades. And Lewis is the type of guy who will just blast you, dude. Just put you into orbit. He's the second hardest hitter behind Francis Ngannou in the division. I mean, Lewis doesn't have great takedown defense, but Oleynik's not really the best person at getting a takedown either. A lot of the times you'll watch him, he'll kind of grab onto people and drag them to the ground. Lewis is too strong to get dragged to the ground. He's just, maybe if it goes down to the 5th round or something like that, Oleynik might be able to drag him to the ground. But I don't see that happening. Oleynik's an older guy. His last 3 losses have been by knockout. I think Derek Lewis goes in there. He might not get him out in the 1st round, but in the 2nd or 3rd round, I think Lewis blasts him with the shot and puts him to sleep. And it'll just be game over and good night, you know. I see Derek starting to make a push again for another title shot eventually. Derek looks in really, really good shape. It looks like he's actually starting to diet now, which is a good thing. I don't think he's going to have to cut for that 265 anymore. I think he's going to be around 260, which is good. He's going to have a lot better gas tank on him. And, I mean, if he can be faster than he already was for the size that he was, that's going to be crazy because he already threw a high, like a super quick left high kick at like 300 pounds. So imagine what he can do at 260, you know? But yeah, guys, so I'm gonna take Derek Lewis to win this in like 2nd or 3rd round knockout for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I mean, looking at Alexei, that Walt Harris fight, he got knocked out in 12 seconds. It only takes like his chin. He's fought like I'm sure you could round it up his total fights in his career, counting amateur. He's probably close to 100.
Probably.
And that's a lot of wear and tear, man. He's
that doesn't like count training and sparring sessions, you know.
I'm pretty sure he's 43 years old. I want to say, but he comes in and he has to take this fight to the ground because he's not standing up with Derek Lewis. This fight's gonna have to go on the ground for him to have a shot. And with that, Lewis' takedown defense isn't the greatest, but he's so much bigger. He's gonna be at least 40 pounds heavier than Alexei's gonna be. Alexei's been coming in under 230.
Derek's strong,
and Derek is big. Derek is huge. And especially if he has a gas tank on him, because that's one of his biggest crutches is gas tank. If he doesn't knock him out in the 1st, he's been dying. Who is that? Who's the Russian he knocked out?
Volkov in the 5th round. He was getting demolished the whole fight. And then finally he just, even in the 5th round, that power's still there, man. He just dropped it on him, dude. Just hit him with a nuke.
It was the 3rd round, huh?
I'm pretty sure it was a main event. I thought it was the 5th.
The main event, that card was DC Stipe 1. That was that.
Okay,
card.
Well then it was the 3rd round. And still, into the fight, he's exhausted, getting beat up, and he just drops a nuke. Like, just puts
and I'm sure that wasn't even the hardest punch he threw that fight.
No.
Homie just clipped him. And I think that's how this fight's going to go. I think Lewis is going to keep the fight on the feet. He's going to knock him out.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be another knockout for Lewis's record. I think Alexei's close to retirement. But who knows? He's a big old Russian. He might have 10 more fights.
30 more fights in him. Who knows, you know? He's probably made out of mountain, too.
And then that's the other thing, though. Looking at how much smaller Alexei is, you would expect him to be the faster fighter, but he's not.
No, Derek's quick.
He's not the faster fighter. Derek is going to be faster than him. He's going to be bigger than him. And that's a scary combo if you're going into that fight.
Big time. Big time.
So Derek Lewis, knockout, 1st round.
1st round. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's definitely 100% possible. But I think Oleynik's a veteran enough to kind of get out of that 1st round. But
Walt Harris caught him in 12 seconds. I'm going to go 1st round.
Yeah, you're probably right. But oh well. Alrighty, guys. So yeah, thanks again, guys, for watching. We hope we give y'all a good pre-fight analysis. We'll see who the Pick'em King is after this week. We're gonna keep that title floating around until we can figure something out.
Hey man, I gotta keep the competition close.
Yeah.
I picked a toss up in this card so we can have an opposite, so we can have a winner.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta let you know there's still a competition.
Right. And you just continue to lose. That's all good, man. That's all good. But
Hey,
anyways,
if you add them all up, I'm still a winner.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think you're ahead by like 2 or 3 fights.
Yeah, that one card.
Yeah, that hurt me, man. That hurt me bad, dude. But anyways, all right, guys. So again, thank y'all. Continue to come in and check out the content, guys. We're gonna keep bringing it to y'all. Again, as we said in the last video that we post also tonight, be on the lookout. Big news coming. We'll probably be doing maybe an in-person podcast next week. If not in person, I'll definitely be somewhere different than here because I'll be back home. But thanks, guys. Keep tuning in. Look out for the news. Love y'all. Keep checking the socials. We'll have all the updates and stuff for content coming and so forth and so on. Drop in the comments, guys, if there's any ideas for other videos that maybe y'all want to see us do, such as fights we want to see or top 10 list or stuff like that. So we can start looking into potentially maybe coming out with another video every week as well. Maybe go to 2 videos instead of 1 every week and just see. So yeah, you guys let us know what you want to see. Drop it in the comments, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or on YouTube. And yeah, guys, thank y'all.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Peace, guys.